Nigerians have continued to react to former President Olusegun Obasanjo's open letter to President Muhammadu Buhari, saying Nigeria is on the precipice and dangerously reaching a tipping point where it may no longer be possible to hold danger at bay. Speaking to Plus TV Africa, former African Action Congress presidential candidate Omoyele Sowore said the later writing will not change the security situation of the country. Rather, revolution and change of irresponsible leaders will.
How do you deal with that? By retaining and romancing, or even, in a shallow way discussing with the people who are the cause of the problem? What revolutions do is they address the root of the matter. They displace people who are complicit and complacent about it. Security is a major issue. It's the #1 right of every citizen. Leaders are held to account first and foremost based on the security of their citizens. It could be social security, physical security, economic security, all kinds of security. If you don't have that, the nation fails. So if you consistently dodge and run away from what needs to be done because those leaders are not responsive and responsible, and you think, by talking to them or talking on TV, they will change. I'm sorry, nothing will change, but when they see seriousness, or in some cases, what revolution do is to change leaders who are irresponsive and irresponsible completely, sweep them out of power and bring in new levels of power, new dynamism that solves the problem. And Nigeria's problem is deeper than just crime. What is fueling crime is unemployment. What is causing unemployment sometimes is corruption. What is causing corruption in times is incompetence and negligence on the part of these leaders. And these leaders are not going to just change overnight simply because somebody wrote a letter to them. But if the citizens rose and said, enough is enough, then people sit up.
The former presidential candidate reiterated that the country has failed in securing itself by sectionalizing crimes committed in the society.
The word headsman has become a metaphor for where we are now, and Nigeria is very good at throwing out metaphors when, instead of solving their problems, they look for a culprit. But the question you should ask yourself, yesterday I was saying somewhere that probably we should start categorizing headsmen so that you can have political headsmen, you have economic headsmen, depending on the sector you are looking at. Because it's a metaphor for a breakdown of security, lack of dynamic leadership in the country. We are not addressing the issues. Our system has fallen apart. Nigeria has failed as a state. And what states do is that they curb crime. They don't try to attribute crime to, one generic title, because whether you're a headsman or you're a militant, you are not supposed to have access to weapons and be able to kidnap people or kill people or walk into the middle of the road and start spraying bullets that shoot down people, or you're an assassin. It doesn't matter who you are. The job of the state is to protect and not discriminate when it comes to who is doing it. In fact, it negates the idea of law enforcement to say that a crime committed without investigation has been carried out by people that you believe have done it. We're supposed to determine who the person is after the person has been arrested, tried, and maybe sentenced to prison time or whatever happens to them. But right now, it's even our own escape. It's our own way of escaping the reality of our deteriorating socio-political situation in the country to attribute to anything that happens. Headsmen, nobody's investigating. The persons have not been apprehended. Like we were having little conversation before we came on. And even when they apprehend, you can't be sure that people apprehended that people who committed the crime.